Hi there, and thank you for tuning in. White balance on the Nikon D700, that's the subject for today. And I will give you the main road or the 101 or the driver's license, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to take you through all the details. There are some 20 pages in the D700 manual, and you can really do some detailed stuff with the white balance. I don't want to cover all that. I want to give you, the main road, and then you can study all the details if this got you interested. So let's start out with why white balance. Well, every light source, I'm sitting on a lamp here and there's sunshine outside, and these two light sources, they have different temperatures, and the temperatures affect the way your colors look. Your eyes and your brain are extremely good at compensating for this so that white always look white and your colors always look true. Your camera is, as per usual, not so clever, so it has to know what is the temperature of the light source that you're shooting in. And that is actually the whole point with white balance, is that you help the camera calibrate the light source or towards the light source so that the colors become as true as possible. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. There are 4 ways you can do it in camera, and then there's one way, or several ways actually, but overall it's one way you can do it in post-processing, just using Lightroom or whatever your post-processing software is to adjust the white balance. This is especially easy if you're shooting in RAW, but I think also you can do it if you're shooting JPEG. I recommend though that if you do it like that, that you take a picture with a gray card and use that as a reference point. You can see here the gray part here in the bottom, because your camera knows exactly what that should look like. So it helps your camera if you have a gray card in one of the first pictures you take in a photo session. We will come to that. Speaking of coming to that, in the bottom of this video I have added a table of contents, and there you can jump to the relevant section. Let's start with the 4 ways of doing it in camera, and it's not as complicated as it sounds as long as you stick to the main road here. So as you probably know, the D700 has dedicated buttons for most everything, and white balance is no exception to that. Over here to the left you have the white balance, and if you push that one, you can regulate the balance, white balance settings using the rear and the front command dial. If I just take this one and move the cursor all the way to the left, you can see I can scroll through a different set of options here. But if we just take the leftmost, that is probably the most used one, and this is the first one. This is the auto mode. So if you just leave it in that, the camera will meter the white balance and you're good to go as such. So that is option number 1. If you want to take it a little bit more advanced, you can use some of the preset values. You can see here, maybe it's difficult to see, but this is a light bulb. This is a fluorescent light indicator. This is the sun. Here we have flash indicator, overcast day, and a little house with a little shadow next to it. So this is shaded, and I think that is it. So let's just go past the other options here for now. So these are sort of like presets. If you say that now I'm shooting with a light bulb, now I'm shooting fluorescent, now I'm shooting under the sun, flash, and so on and so forth, then you're actually helping the camera, telling it what it is you're shooting. So this is a different way of doing it. I find this works fine, but of course, it doesn't go as precise as a metering using a gray card. But it can be very useful, especially if you don't forgot to bring your gray card. The third option, that is if you're very, very good and know your Kelvin scale and you can read the color of the light very, very precisely, then you can here, just by turning the front command dial, set the exact Kelvin value you're shooting at. This is really advanced, and I cannot imagine anyone can do this, just by looking at the scene. I think it's because you can buy, just like you have a light meter, you can also buy a color meter, and with that you can make a reading, and then you can set the value to that. I think that must be the explanation why you have this option. The 4th way involves a pretty big gray card in the Nikon D700 case, because you need to have a gray card that can fill the frame, and this one will do the job. It's foldable, this one, so I won't try and fold it right now. Not sure how to do it, but you can actually see that it's I believe it's something like 25 centimeters times 25 centimeters, and it can easily fill the frame. this showing you the camera, this gray card, and taking a picture of it, the camera will know how to calibrate the subsequent pictures based on this picture here, and then it knows the lighting conditions. It doesn't actually take a picture. I mean, it does, but it doesn't store it. So you won't find the gray card picture in your camera. It simply just takes the picture to calibrate. So let me show you how it's done. So you hold the white balance button, turn the rear command dial until it says pre in the bottom right of the LCD display. Then you release the white balance button, push it once again, and the pre starts flashing. Then you take a picture of the gray card, and provided it is successful, it says good in the display. If it says no good, then I guess that's self-explanatory. But now it has stored in D0, bank D0, the value that it read. Now I think I want to read again, but I don't. I just want to show you here that is stored in bank D0. And you actually have 4 more banks where you can store the information. I think this is a bit too advanced for me because I just want to use the value I read the last time. But if you have a studio with different settings and you know exactly what your light settings are for each different setting, then this can be useful. But it's a tad too advanced for my use. So those are the 4 in-camera options that Nikon D700 gives you. And if you turn the dial again, you'll see you go back to automated. There are some options that you can also explore in more detail via the menu system, where you can use the front command dial to set some values here. And I haven't covered that because in my mind this becomes very advanced, and I doubt that anyone uses it. If you do, please let me know in the comments. I'm really curious what you're using here. But I think I mostly use either the value here, where you actually, based on a gray card, ask the camera to set the right setting, or use automated. I think those are the options that I use the most. I don't use these very much, and I certainly don't use this one. So here in Lightroom, I have a very simple picture here, but the good thing about this picture is that there is a gray card as part of the picture, and it will use that to adjust the white balance. So let me show you. Notice how the white balance here is set to 5000, and the white balance is as it was shot. If I pick up this little white balance selector here and go over to the gray area here, then it says pick a target neutral, and what it means is please tell me where gray is in this picture. And you can see right now the 3 channels, the red and the green, are pretty well aligned, but there's too little blue. It seems to me it's down to 26%. If you have your white balance checked, or it's as it should be, all 3 channels should have the same strength. So notice what happens when I click the mouse. Notice what happens to the color in the picture, right? You can see it changed. And now here, instead of having 4000, it actually went, 5,000, it went down to 4,700. So it adjusted the temperature a little bit downwards. And if I pick up the color, the white balance selector again, you can see now the 3 channels are much better aligned. It has lifted the blue. And the same correction has been done to all parts of the picture, and that is why the white balance is now as it should be, and hence your colors are true. So this is a way to do it in post. And then you may be thinking, yeah, but I don't want to have a gray card in all my pictures. No, you don't need to. Just take one picture, provided you have the same lighting conditions throughout the shooting you're doing, and then you can just copy the white balance from your first picture to the subsequent pictures. So that's really all there is to it. In this way, you can just shoot with your Nikon D700 in white balance auto mode and completely forget about white balance. Okay, so that was it. 4 ways of doing it in camera, 1 way of doing it in post-processing. I'm curious, do you actually use white balance? I have a feeling that 99.9% of us actually just puts the camera in auto white balance and then live with sort of the result and maybe edit the white balance as an afterthought in Lightroom or whatever you're using. I think it's a little bit of pity. I think that if you really use white balance, your colors can actually, and hence the quality of your pictures can actually be lifted a little bit, especially here at summertime when you're shooting, flowers or fruits or, whatever in nature. I think it adds a little something extra to your pictures that the white balance is spot on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.